Khabib Nurmagomedov's promotion, Eagle FC, has been making a lot of really bad decisions over the last few months as they prepare for their North American debut on January 28th. My name is James Lynch. Over the next little bit here, I'm going to go through some of the signings and some of the matchmaking they've been doing leading up to their first event and why it could be pretty problematic for the future of this promotion. And let me right off the bat just say, I have a lot of respect for Khabib Nurmagomedov, and I think it's great that he has a promotion that's going to give opportunities to fighters in North America, but I think there's a lot of mistakes they're making early on, and I don't think it's going to give them the payoff that they're expecting. Let's start first with the fact that they tried to book Antonio Bigfoot Silva against Tyrone Spong. This is a terrible idea in my opinion, and I know people are already going to say, well, this fight's not happening. Well, why is it not happening? I have a feeling the commission wouldn't let this fight happen, because if you look at Antonio Bigfoot Silva's record here, it's all knockout losses. And here's a guy right now who's 42 years old. Antonio Bigfoot Silva should not be fighting. In fact, I think most fans right now don't even remember Antonio Bigfoot Silva because it's been so long since he's competed in the UFC. His last fight in the octagon was back in 2016, and he was going up against a highly decorated kickboxer in Tyrone Spong, who is no doubt going to knock his block off. I mean, Tyrone Spong has some serious power. This screamed nothing but knockout loss here for Antonio Bigfoot Silva. So thank God this fight was not going to happen. As we see Sergey Haratonov replaces Bigfoot Silva against Tyrone Spong. That's a much more fair fight here. Haratonov, while he is a little bit older, he hasn't taken the type of punishment that Bigfoot Silva has. So thank God we're getting this fight as opposed to the original main event, because in my opinion, Antonio Bigfoot Silva should not be fighting anymore in his career. The other questionable decision that Eagle FC has made is signing Rashad Evans. Now look, I think it's great that Rashad Evans claims to be in the best shape of his life and he looks great at 42 years of age, but what is he hoping to accomplish here? Rashad Evans hasn't fought since 2018, and he was on a serious losing streak in the UFC, losing to Ryan Bader, Glover Teixeira, Dan Kelly, Sam Alvey, and of course he was finished in 53 seconds by Anthony Smith. I just don't get this one at all with Rashad Evans because of the fact that he's got a good gig. He's an analyst for the UFC on television. He works with fighters. I think there's a lot of opportunities outside the cage for Rashad Evans, and I just think there's not a need for him to fight anymore in his career. Rashad is a legend. He's a former UFC champion, like I mentioned. He has nothing left to prove here, and while I don't mind the fact that he's fighting a guy in Gabriel Checo, who I don't think poses any serious threat in terms of knocking Rashad out or anything like that, there's just no upside to Rashad fighting at this point. And what's his overall goal here? Is it to become a champion in this promotion? I just don't get this signing at all. And again, there is some ties to Khabib because obviously Rashad has the same manager as Khabib, so I'm sure, and you're noticing that with a lot of the fights here on this card, is that there are a lot of fighters from that management company. But I think this is also a bad move, and I also think most fans don't care to watch Rashad Evans fight anymore. We already had this with Nate Marquardt recently, coming back out of retirement and getting finished himself. I think a similar outcome is going to happen for Rashad Evans as he looks to come back out of retirement. And just to give you guys some context, and my buddy MMA Joey made a point of this as well, the last time Rashad Evans got a win was on the George St. Pierre and Johnny Hendricks card back in November of 2013. It's been forever since Rashad Evans has won a fight here. I don't care to see him fight anymore, and I think this is a bad move by Eagle FC. The other pickup I don't agree with is the signing of Diego Sanchez, the original Ultimate Fighter winner. Diego Sanchez is set to take on Kevin Lee later this year, and I think this is a total mismatch. And if you don't believe me, the odds came out the other day for this fight, and they have Kevin Lee as a minus 600 favorite. What are we doing here? Like, I get that they want to get more eyeballs on Kevin Lee and they want to get him a notable fight, but to me, you're not getting much out of Diego Sanchez, and I think Diego Sanchez fighting at this point is a bit of a liability. You look at his UFC career, and you know, he's lost a number of key fights. He lost to Jake Matthews, he lost to Chiesa, he only beat Michel Pereira due to an illegal knee. Yes, he picked up wins over Mickey Gall and Craig White, but before that, he was knocked out in 3 of his last 4 fights previously to Matt Brown, Ali Aquinta, and Joe Lozon. Those are some serious losses. And also, just think of all the wars that Diego Sanchez has been in his career. I don't know any MMA fans who are excited about this fight. I know you want to build up Kevin Lee, but giving him Diego Sanchez is not the right move, in my opinion. I think there's other UFC veterans that are free agents that you could look at and bring in to potentially give Kevin Lee a run for his money here, but it's not Diego Sanchez. And not to mention the fact that Diego Sanchez just had pneumonia back in November, and they announced this fight less than a month later. It just seems really odd that they're going this route with Diego Sanchez, and I'm of the belief that Diego Sanchez shouldn't fight anymore, period. He's a legend in the sport. Like I said, original Ultimate Fighter winner. Why does he have to fight? And we're going to get to some comments on this a little bit later, but I think there's a lot of options for Diego Sanchez that don't involve fighting with him going forward. And lastly, I am definitely not a fan of this Jorgen de Castro and Sean Asher matchup. Sean Asher is 42 years old. Jorgen de Castro is still a UFC capable heavyweight heavyweight. I know he was released from the promotion, but he lost a couple close fights and he ended up getting released here. I'm glad to see Jorgen de Castro get an opportunity here, but why is he fighting Sean Asher? Sean Asher, we saw in Bellator last year fight a really good heavyweight in Steve Mowry and was finished in 55 seconds. Do you think this result's going to be any different fighting a kickboxer and a striker like Jorgen de Castro? I don't think this fight's going to be close at all, and it's clearly them trying to give Jorgen de Castro a nice win here. Jorgen de Castro is managed by the same manager as Khabib Nurmagomedov. They're trying to give him a layup here in his debut, and I don't like it. I know there's not a lot of heavyweights out there to sign, but this is another fight that I really question what the heck they're doing here, because I think this is a fight that Jorgen de Castro is clearly going to win by knockout, and I just don't see it boding well for Sean Asher, and I just don't know what the payoff is here for Jorgen de Castro to take this fight. It's not going to help his career other than maybe get a win, but over a guy in Sean Asher who, if you look at the level of opposition prior to him signing with Bellator, he fought a guy who's 4-6, fought a guy who's 6-6, and any sort of step up, including Misha Serkinov and Jordan Johnson, were guys that he ended up losing to. And you look at the gap in his career as well. He didn't fight in 2020, didn't fight in 2018 or 2017. This is a total setup fight for Jorgen de Castro, and to me looks really bad when you've got a president of the promotion in Rizvan who's part of Dominance MMA management, and they're clearly trying to give their fighters easy fights. I don't like that. There's a big conflict of interest there in my opinion, and I just don't think it's necessary to have Jorgen de Castro fight a guy like Sean Asher. Now look, this entire video is not here to bash Eagle FC. I think they're doing a lot of really good things as well, and I'm going to highlight those right now just because I want to make sure that there's some transparency here when talking about this promotion, because I do want to see Eagle FC succeed, and I want to see them make waves and give opportunities to fighters that normally wouldn't have them. I think them signing Kevin Lee is a great idea here. I don't think Kevin Lee should have been cut from the UFC. I think a lot of fans are delusional in how they see Kevin Lee as a fighter here, because you know the last fight he had against Daniel Rodriguez, people forget he was coming off a huge layoff off of knee surgery. He was supposed to fight Sean Brady, and then he had his opponent switched up at the last minute, and he had to fight an absolute killer here in Daniel Rodriguez. I think Kevin Lee is still UFC caliber. I think he's a very good fighter, and I also think that he's a guy that could do quite well for Eagle FC. So I like the pickup here in Kevin Lee. So I definitely want to highlight the fact that I think Kevin Lee for them is a very good move. The other good move, I think, is the fact that they're entering in the United States, that they're going to give opportunities to North American fighters that maybe won't get to fight for PFL or Bellator or any of these other promotions. And it seems for the most part that they're paying their fighters very well. So there's a lot of positives here with what they've been doing in terms of giving some of the opportunities to these fighters. And the last thing I'll say as well is that I like the fact that they're doing a 165-pound division. I think that's great. It's something that fans have been wanting for a while. I think it's, revolutionary here in the sport. And I like the fact that a guy like Kevin Lee, who I think is a true 165er, is going to have a lot of success in the promotion with the fact that this is at 165 and not at 170 and 155, because we know Kevin Lee's got problems making 155. And I think at 170, he's just a little too undersized here. You look at him fighting, guys like Rafael Dos Anjos or Daniel Rodriguez. He just looked a little bit undersized in those fights. And I know Dos Anjos is fighting a lightweight now, but you get what I'm saying. I think Kevin Lee was just not strong enough for the welterweight division, and I think him at 165 is a really good move there. So again, there are some positives with what Eagle FC is doing, but I just think there's a lot of negative things that we got to point out here as well. I think it's just really important to be honest and transparent when it comes to looking at these promotions and some of the decisions they've made over the years. I mean, look at Bellator when Scott Coker first took over. He was signing guys like Melvin Manhoff, who had no business fighting in the promotion with the fact that he was older and had taken a lot of damage. I'm seeing a similar trend here with Eagle FC as well, and I just don't see a lot of people criticizing them, and my only guess is they're worried about losing access. But with me, I want to be honest with you guys and give my honest opinion about this entire thing, and I think that you shouldn't be afraid to speak your mind when it comes to someone as powerful in this industry as Khabib Nurmagomedov. And look, if George St. Pierre decided to run a promotion and pull this exact same stuff that Eagle FC is doing, I would criticize him as well. It's not about Khabib or Eagle FC itself. It's about some of the decisions they've made, and we got to be honest about this stuff. We can't just sugarcoat it because it's Khabib, and a lot of people love and respect him as a fighter. And one guy who did a really good job of this is my buddy MMA Joey, and he outlined some of the things that I've talked about in here as well. And I know I'm going to get the same comments that he did on his video, so I'm just going to read some of these comments and kind of refute some of the things that people have said here. So I'm not going to go through this entire answer here, but someone says, if you feel so disgusted about his business decision, would you pay for all of his fights if he was putting on fight shows with no-name guys or guys from overseas? You don't have to do that. Bellator is proof of this. When Bellator started with Bjorn Rebney, he didn't sign a bunch of washed up fighters. He built fighters up. How do you think Michael Chandler became a household name? How do you think a guy like Hector Lombard built up his career to become a middleweight champion? It's because they developed talent and they played the long game in this industry. I feel like signing washed up fighters like Diego Sanchez or guys like Sean Asher, it's just a way for them to get a cheap click, and it's not them thinking long term here. So as far as that, saying that no one's going to watch, Khabib's a popular fighter enough. Of course they're going to watch because they want to support him. So I don't think you need to sign fighters like that. Let's read a few more comments. To be fair though, would we be talking about Eagle FC if Khabib hadn't signed former UFC fighters like Bigfoot, Diego Sanchez? Yes, we would, because Khabib Nurmagomedov is one of the most popular fighters on the planet. Again, this is nonsense. You can't just use that as an excuse to sign guys that shouldn't be fighting. Dude, these are grown men deciding to fight. If they lose, it's their fault. They aren't 60 years old either. They're not being forced. Of course they're not being forced, but they're enabling them to fight. Guys like Diego Sanchez who have serious health issues should not be fighting. I'm sorry, that's not the right way to go about things. And we'll just read one more here as well. You can include a bout that happened as an example of being disgusting. Yes, you can, because they tried to make the fight happen, and it was the commission who likely stepped in and stopped the fight from happening. So again, we got to be honest here about what's going on with this promotion, and we got to start talking about things truthfully. So that's my overall thoughts on Eagle FC. Again, I want to see them succeed. I want to see them make the right moves. I think it's great what Khabib's doing in terms of giving an opportunity to fighters. I just think there's a better way to do it, and we don't have to completely shield Khabib Nurmagomedov of criticism because he's Khabib. To me, that's ridiculous. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. What do you think of some of the points I've made? I'm willing to discuss this with you guys as long as you're not going to be ridiculous and say I'm a hater or anything like that. Again, I pointed out some good things in this video as well. I just think we got to be honest about some of the bad things that Eagle FC is doing as a promotion. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Lynch on Sports, and make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Lynch on Sports. I'm James Lynch. I'm going to be doing more of these opinion videos this year, so I hope you enjoyed this one. I'll talk to you guys soon.
That original flow, head kicks with the pros, picks at the fights or anything in the mix. Getting closer to the heart of the flame, bringing conversations with heavy hitting names. You feel the love of the game.